Hello, Hardee's. Welcome to another edition of Hardee's Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley. I am one of your hosts, Sarah Nitch, the hawk-eyed Hardee, and you all know my co-host, but unfortunately she can't speak right now. Her mouth is a little full.
You go ahead and introduce me. That's
Well,
fine.
this is Cammie. This is Cammie. She's the hooked Hardee. And today she is hooked on. What are you hooked on?
I am hooked on banana bread.
I wonder why.
I don't know. It's something just kind of, inspired me to bake it, and then, I can't just leave it there.
No, no, gotta eat it.
Gotta.
I wish you'd sent some up to me, but
Not allowed to send edibles in a package, It's not exactly easily mailed. So
no, it isn't. It isn't. I'm sure the postables could find a way.
I'm sure they could, but wrong show. Well, no,
Oh my
no,
goodness.
no. Hold on, because Jeanette is back. So we should include the postables.
Well, Hardee's, as you have guessed, we are here today to talk about season 11, episode 10, What Goes Around.
One more bite.
One more bite. Okay, and
There
then
we go.
then we gotta talk about the show.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay. So, as you know, that was what was for dessert at family dinner, banana bread. Now,
Yeah. Do you classify dessert banana bread as a dessert? Would that
no,
be?
I don't.
Yeah. I
Unless
mean,
it's been glazed, or something
right
like that.
there you go. Glaze. Maybe add chocolate chips.
Yeah.
Could help ease it a little bit more into the dessert category. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not usually where I go with that.
No, and the funny thing is, I don't really see banana bread as something that goes with dinner. I see it as a gift, or I see it as a snack, you
Or
know,
breakfast.
or breakfast. That's, yeah,
Yeah, I
especially
was
in
growing
muffin
up.
form.
Yeah, when I was growing up, we would have it like for breakfast with, like with some fruit or something.
Oh, okay. It has been done that there's a loaf of banana bread with dinner, but this is the first time that I have heard banana bread is for dessert. And yeah, I just hope that she put some kind of glaze on it, because especially after Allie promised little Jack that they could go get ice cream.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
going from
will
ice
say
cream to
so.
banana bread.
But that's a good point to kind of bring up is we've seen the ice cream shop come up with little Jack in the past, and Elizabeth is very conscientious about like not having him have too much and not taking him there too often. And that has come up in the storyline. And so now I think we're kind of seeing like, oh, okay, she's a little bit of a conservative mom when it comes to snacks. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's possible. I
Because she wasn't like that. Like in earlier seasons, like when she and Jack were having dinner, they always had a more elaborate dessert. They would have pie or cake or
What was
something.
it? Raspberry? No, it was cherry cobbler.
That
See,
was that was Rosemary, wasn't it?
no, 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 because
Yeah,
Rosemary brought over the chocolate cake, and that kind of pushed
that's right. Yes.
her
I
cherry
got
cobbler to the
confused.
side.
I got confused with when she was making the cobbler with the beets and the prune juice or
Oh,
whatever it was. So I got confused there when you brought that up. That was more recent.
right.
Yeah.
No, that was season 4 I was talking about. But
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
I don't think that that's a point to really nitpick. I think it
Oh
was
no.
done strictly for the callback and the reference side of it. But it's really interesting because that's that's a buried callback. You know,
It wasn't a big moment.
no, it wasn't.
Like,
It happened very, very quickly, actually. Now, we latched onto it because of the podcast's history with
with
banana
banana
bread.
bread. We do have quite a history with banana
I
bread.
just recently reposted the link to go to our conversation about banana bread. So you can go to that. It's season 10, episodes 7 and 8. Or you can go to the link that was just posted yesterday, I believe, and that is me making my banana bread with not mine. The recipe is from my mom's, but close enough. And
Right.
I sum up the story there for you, so you can find out the story in one of those too.
Awesome. Awesome. My mom also has a wonderful banana bread recipe. So the next time we get together, we will
Oh
have to
boy.
have a little bake off.
Okay, well,
Taste test.
then
Taste test.
you're not allowed to watch the video, Sarah, because I don't want you stealing any of my secrets.
I won't steal your secrets. I will do my mom's recipe and you will do your mom's recipe and we can compare just like Joseph and Minnie with their barbecue. And we
Okay.
will record the fun for everyone.
My goodness, that will be something to watch. All right. So let's go to the window.
Ah, since we're on Nathan.
So he helped her there. He brought the delivery.
Oh, okay, the delivery was helpful. The
Yep.
delivery was actual help carrying heavy objects, so I'll give you that.
And
The window
then
was not helpful. The window was, I see my moment to, I see my moment to slide in here real close.
this is
And
the moment.
I don't see it as a let me get close physically to her, but I do see it as a moment where he can like be the big strong man, like, oh, she's struggling with it. I can get the window. I can like be useful here. And like it seemed like a very testosterone kind of move.
Well, then what almost happened went
Not
out the
arguing,
window.
not arguing it, liked it, but just saying.
But then what almost happened went out the window.
When other people came in the door. Yep.
When other people,
Whew.
that's actually funny because a lot of things, if we're going to use that metaphor, a lot of things went out the window in this episode. I mean, we've got Faith and Lily. Faith feels like her dream of caring for this child is going out the window. And then the plan to take her home with Dora goes out the window. And, metaphorically speaking, Allie snuck out the window.
I mean, she might as
and,
well
and then her opinion of her father went out the window. So, and the fact that Pike was seen as the convicted shooter goes out the window. Any
Yep, we're off of that.
any mention of Montague being involved goes out the window. A lot of
Yeah,
things
that
went
doesn't
out
seem
the window.
doesn't seem very likely anymore. Yeah.
No, a lot of things went out the window. Allie's dad, Dylan,
Whew.
she came crashing down with that one. And he tried. He tried to keep it from happening, but there was no way that she wasn't gonna go.
Well, and I mean, as much as like obviously it was written this way for dramatic effect on a television series, but when you also look at the realities of a situation like this, there is nothing he could have said, even going full board with the truth, that would have had the same effect on Allie
No.
as going through that. And without him directly rejecting her in the moment when she was right there, like any girl or child of that age range in that type of situation is probably not going to believe anything that anyone, even a trusted person, tells them
Nope.
about somebody that they want to be a good person. They
Yeah.
want to believe that this person won't do that. And so you won't believe it unless you see it.
Yeah, I mean, Elizabeth summed it up when she said, sometimes we have to let our children hurt to let them grow. And that was the only way that Allie was going to get past this. I cannot get over when she and Nathan are sitting at the table at breakfast after it's all over. And she goes, I was right there.
Yeah.
I was right
Like,
there.
how
And
do you
he
come to
couldn't
terms with
even be bothered to meet me. I just went, oh, harsh reality on that poor girl.
that? Yeah.
So that being the case, I pulled in my inner Casey, if you will. Hi, Casey. And I did a little digging. I went back to season 8, episode 1, open season, when Dylan shows up. The first interaction, Nathan is actually very calm. He walks into his office, and his former brother-in-law, who ran off on his sister and his now daughter, is sitting with his feet up on Nathan's desk as if he owns the world. And the only thing Nathan says is, get your feet off my desk. I went, oh man. And he doesn't get violent, or he doesn't get threatening until Dylan calls her my little girl. He puts the picture aside and says, she's growing up fast, my little girl. And that's when Nathan grabs him and bangs him against the wall and says, she is not your little girl, not anymore. And just mess with me all you want, mess with that
Right.
girl, and you are in big trouble.
Yeah.
So, question of the day, and yes, I'm totally
Totally putting.
putting you on the spot. Yes, I know.
Okay. Let's have it.
How much money did Dylan try to get from Nathan? How much did he want for custody of Allie? He said, blank amount of money and I'll disappear.
I haven't watched that in so long. I do not remember. I feel like it
It's
was
a
a
nice even
lot.
number.
It was a lot for back then.
It was a lot.
Um, 500, 5,000. I remember five. I'm like, I thought I remembered the number five. I'm like, what? 1,000?
1,000. You did it.
That hardly counts.
$1,000, which I looked it up, in 1918, somewhere between 17 and 19, which is when this happens. The equivalent of today is $20,800. So imagine somebody coming up to you and immediately demanding $20,800.
Well, not even that, but coming up to a single father
Yeah.
who works in law enforcement at a like a low position, really.
Yeah, he's a constable.
Who's supposed to, he's gonna have that kind of money lying around? Like, that is odd, because I'm like, I get it, but like, you see that in TV shows, and usually it's like they're going after somebody that has a lot of money or
The
can
money.
get a loan or something. Like, back then, like, you're not getting a loan for that amount.
Especially not that fast.
No. exactly. And not without more collateral. Like he doesn't own a house. He doesn't like, I mean, I guess they might technically own those row homes now. Not
Maybe.
sure how. I'm not sure who owns those anymore after all the
Yeah, it's a little
mine went away,
it's a
but
little skewed. But yeah, $20,800, give or take. And that's what he asked someone who has been paying for his daughter since she was 4.
right, you took care of her for me. Now you should give me money.
Oh, this man is, yeah, yeah, and
Well, we've established not a bright guy.
he's a cretin. He's a cretin, and he's not smart too. Yeah, but
I
I
will say I adored the way that Elizabeth did bring it back for Nathan, though, and say he must have some redeeming qualities
oof.
to have for your sister to ever have loved him. I don't give him the credit on because he had a daughter like Allie, because that
No,
he wasn't around her to raise her, and she could have gotten all the good genetic stuff from mom. But for the mom to have loved him, and she seemed like a really good person, there must have been something. Even if it wasn't a lot, there must have been something.
yeah, I think that flame went.
Yeah. And and people do go through major changes in their personality when they deal
You're
with
not
trauma.
buying the broken heart theory, are you? That grandma sold to Allie?
Not that theory exactly, but he
Okay.
very well could have gone down a dark path following
It's possible,
a
but
traumatic loss. I mean,
it's
that does happen. He probably already had that in him, but it could have gotten much worse.
I did not go back to season 6 and hear the whole backstory, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure he took off before Colleen died. I'm not sure, but
That does sound right, but yeah,
yeah,
I can't confirm that either. But
yeah. But I think one of my favorite lines in that episode is when Nathan says, "Get on your horse and get out of my town." It just, oh, it's got that old Western vibe in you. You get out of
yeah,
my town.
yeah.
But okay, so here's something that I forgot. The night that Nathan had to go chasing after Dylan was the night that Nathan and Elizabeth were supposed to have dinner. And then he rides up and says, "I know we talked about having dinner tonight, but I have to go out of town and Allie's going to stay with Opal." And I went, doggone it. Dylan is ruining things right and left. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I had forgotten that piece of it. And
So
then
did
you bring
I. And then I went, oh my gosh, she probably would have gone. She probably would have gone if it had been the night before.
yeah.
And then on top of that, so I don't know if you remember this, but Nathan got lassoed, pulled off of his horse,
Ouch.
kicked in the stomach, and then left there. And he had to walk until Newt found him. And then he had to ride off, go get more Mounties to help, and then go to Dylan's cabin to arrest him.
He is
and,
much tougher than we give him credit for.
and that's one of the things that I wish they would show more. He is
Yeah.
so much tougher than we give him credit for. And I really want more of that. I really want to see more of that. But that's neither here nor there right now. So, when Nathan comes to the door of Dylan's cabin and he said, "Dylan, don't you get it? I had to let you ambush me so I would have grounds to put you away." And then he said, "The Mounties, we always get our man." And I was like, oh, stick it to him.
Yeah,
But
no, that was a good line.
my big point is after Nathan had gone through all of that, riding riding out of town unexpectedly, has to go and face his former brother-in-law, who he knows is a cretin, and then he gets physically abused and left, and then he has to walk until his horse finds him, and then he has to go back, get help, then go find Dylan's cabin and make the arrest, and then gets back home. They walk all the way into town and she backs out on him. And I just went, oh. And he took it like a champ. He just said, yeah. I just went, oh
Well,
my God.
I don't remember all the ins and outs of the stuff that was happening around those episodes, like in terms of like when it was happening, if it was happening right then. But I mean, that does go to support the concept of her being afraid of being with a Mountie in a dangerous line of work. And she sees that happening. And
So, yes, but the reason why she backed out is because Mrs. Bouchard showed up.
well, yes, but I
So,
feel like it can also be a combo of things.
yeah, it could, but he had washed up, he had changed, they
Yeah.
were walking into town, the four of them, because she was out of excuses. And then she says, Nathan, I'm not feeling very well. And I just went, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Now,
but
to be
that could
fair, she didn't
totally
know.
be from both. That could
Yeah, but
totally be from both
she
things.
didn't know everything that Nathan had gone through. But after all that he had gone through, he still shows up to her house with a smile to see if she'll still go to dinner with him that night. And then he takes it like a total champ when she says,
Oh,
I'm not feeling well. Will you walk me home? And I'm like, this poor guy. So
really, really, really. Oh, goodness.
coming back to the present time, I
We
feel
should
like,
probably review this episode at some point. Yeah.
yeah, but my point is they were supposed to go to dinner in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the episode
They're finally having
father
dinner.
where Allie's father is mentioned again. So when he shows up, they're supposed to go to dinner and they almost do, but she backs out. In the next episode that he's mentioned, they actually go to dinner. And I went, ooh, that's some cool intermingling of plot lines and weaving,
Yeah,
if you will. I usually reserve that term for Martha Williamson, but I'll let it go here.
it was good weaving. I will definitely give you that.
And I think that dinner was not only nice to see Nathan and Elizabeth finally having dinner, but to see the change in Allie. Because at the very beginning of the episode, when Nathan is helping Jack writing, how, oh my gosh, that was so precious. So when he's helping Jack ride Pal, and Jack says, Allie, come watch me ride Pal. Maybe later, Jack. And I just went, oh, because I mean, she didn't take it out on little Jack, which
She
is a good.
was, I will say, she was very good about still being a bit cheerful with him directly and
Mm-hmm.
then directing the teenage attitude
toward,
elsewhere.
toward the adult. but but yeah, then seeing her complete attitude change toward everybody and just, can I have some more chicken? Oh, yeah. You just immediately gets him. And then, can I come watch you ride? Like, yeah, you can have a turn. Oh, I'm too big for Paolo. Then can you help me brush him? Now that sounds like fun. And afterwards, we'll go for ice cream. I mean, she just keeps piling them on.
Yeah.
And so she is obviously back to her old self. She is willing to put all of this behind her. And she's forgiven Nathan for withholding the information because she
because
said,
she now sees that why
yeah. And
and
she
trusts that it was real.
and she said, I should have listened to you. And we're going there next. And then she has also made amends to Nathan. And so things are good between the two of them. So then things can be good between the four of them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay. That scene in front of the jail. I have never I've seen Kevin McGarry cry in scenes before. I have never been that moved by him crying. And Allie's sobbing. Nathan is crying out of relief. And he's doing the what were you thinking, but in complete I'm just glad I found you mode. And, one of the things that I loved about this, I honestly thought that they were going to have Elizabeth rush forward and do it first. And it needed to be a Nathan and Allie moment. It needed to be their time because it was a very healing moment. And I think that that is the biggest scene between the two of them with her there. Because if she's there, she's usually involved, but she was stepped back and she was watching instead. And I really, really loved that because she knew that this needed to be a moment for them. And she even disappears out of frame. So you even forget for a second that she's standing right behind them. Because it was just beautiful watching the two of them come back together physically and emotionally and mend. And like I said, I have never been that moved by Kevin crying before, ever.
Yeah.
It
And
just,
I
mm.
would take that a step further. I thought the scene at the breakfast table when they were both emotional was very, very well acted. It's
Oh my gosh, that
hard.
was
It
gorgeous.
is hard as a child actor to be able to portray that level of everything
Yeah.
without it seeming overacted or fake. Um, we've talked about that with other shows, even not like on this show necessarily, but just like it is hard for child actors to hit the right level to get enough emotion without going too far. And I thought she did a very, very good job, and he really matched it. And I just kept thinking like how great that probably was for Jada to like have those scenes with Kevin and have like feel like she's like progressing as an actor and to have that like I almost feel like he's helping bring her along with her acting skills because she's getting
Absolutely.
to do that because in other times when she's been upset like she's the one upset and he's just like trying to get her to stop. He's just being the dad, But in both of those scenes, they were both emotional together.
Yeah.
And it was like they were just playing off each other so well.
He called her the greatest joy of my life. And he said, he's a fool for losing his chance at being your dad because his loss is my gain. And then the wonderful thing about that is he's making her feel better. He is telling her how amazing it is to be her dad. Oh my gosh, this just occurred to me that this scene happened the Sunday before Father's Day.
I was just thinking to myself, like, it's too bad it didn't time to be this
On
Sunday.
Father's Day, but it's, we're close to Father's Day
Yeah.
now when we're recording this. So happy Father's Day to all you father figures out there. But it just was so wonderful for him to say, you're smart, you're thoughtful, you're fearless, you get those things from your mother. And then she says, I don't know, it sounds an awful lot like my dad. And then he reaches for her hand and says, forever. And that was, I still, I mean, the scene moved me. I still, as far as emotionally, like the freshness and the height of the emotion in the reuniting scene, but that one was the perfect follow up because it was in a calmer setting and it was reactionary. It was not in the moment of it happening. It was, okay, now we're separated. Now we can look at this clearly. And he was giving her all of these wonderful compliments and reassurances, and then she gives it back to him. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you should mention kids and emotion because I thought that Lily's finest moment in the entire episode was when she said, I want to stay with you, because she was getting emotional and it was so, that moment was her best moment in the episode as far as I was concerned. It was so genuine, it was so real. There were tears in her eyes, and that is not easy for a little
Oh, she's
actress.
so little.
She's so little. And for her
Oh,
to say, but I want to stay with you. And then Faith gets down at her level and she still has that perfectly genuine, sad face on her. And she's nodding, like, okay. And I went, oh, that was a good scene. It was
yeah.
heartwarming. It was tissue worthy, and it was
Oh,
beautiful. It was
yeah.
beautiful.
I know, because we didn't really get a chance. We were over on time last week, so we didn't really get a chance to talk about Faith and Lily in
No,
last week's episode, which is fine because it was such a big part of this week's episode. It's just so fun to see something happen with a character that's completely unexpected for them, like in the show. Like she never would have expected to have a child in her life at this stage, you know, and it's a different path than she expected, but it's the right path for her. Like everyone has that thing that they're meant to do. And while, she's got her career going really, really well, she's got good friends and, like she has her purpose in life. And now she like has a personal purpose.
it was just so beautiful how she was dealing with her own emotions and still trying to help soothe Lily's emotions, and whispering to the dog and
Oh my gosh.
saying,
She's
I was
so good with her. That
I
was
was
such a
talking
cute
to
scene,
Rufus. I was talking to Rufus and he said he wanted to come to daycare, and I went, "Hey, you said you weren't good with children." You know,
right? She's brilliant.
I mean, she was probably a quick study with this, but the whispering to Rufus in the drugstore, oh my gosh. That was the most
That
adorable
the
thing.
eating the fruit and the pancakes in last week's. I mean, there are so many cute scenes between the two of them.
I love how Nathan came in and said, "Yep, Allie used to pull that all the time. Start with the fruit, then go with the pancakes. Rookie mistake."
I actually think that's hilarious though, because most children that I've worked with have been the opposite. They'll go for the fruit and they don't want other things. I have,
Seriously?
yeah, fruit. If it's veggies or something, yeah. But
What
fruit is
children
pretty
are
popular.
you working with?
Fruit is always popular.
Not here. My children go for the cereal first, and then maybe if they have some room, they'll go for the fruit.
No, my kids want so much fruit in their lunch boxes, and it's hard to keep fresh fruit in stock in my house.
I'm jealous.
Oh my gosh. It is, that is hard. I will say pancakes are never an issue though. They will absolutely eat pancakes, but yeah, fruit is the number one food group with my kids.
Wow.
And I would say for most of the students in my preschool classes that I've taught, fruit is usually the first thing they eat out of their lunchbox.
That's amazing. Mrs. Nitch, do you have your headwear?
I do.
Excellent, because we have a mystery to solve finally.
We have finally uncovered quite a few answers. That is for certain.
Wow.
And with 2 episodes still to go,
I know.
I, I
But
I am very glad that we got this many answers so far. I mean, I know there's still more mystery to go, but I was very worried that like, oh my gosh, it's going to come down to like the last minute, we won't know, and like that'll be part of the cliffhanger, and it'll be so drawn out. So I'm really glad that we're getting to the bottom of things.
so I just, okay, full honesty, I really wanted to pat myself on the back when I saw that it was Shaw, because if you will remember, I have not read anything. I have not read
Yeah,
anything about future episodes. And so I took the mention.
the
I
mention
took
of a name.
I
Yeah,
took the mention of a name at the beginning of the season that Rosemary blew off, and then I incorporated him in the fan fiction, and then boom, there he is. I went, after so long with being wrong about so many predictions, yes, I got this one right.
you did. You did.
Now, I didn't take it anywhere political, but in the preview for next week, it looks like Casimir Shaw is going to hold Elizabeth at gunpoint. I got that right in my story.
You got several points right so far. We will see how many, but you were on the right track.
If you haven't listened to the story yet, it's
You
on
have
the
to
YouTube
before
line.
this next episode. Yes.
The idea that there were two people there that night never crossed my mind.
It crossed my mind, but it crossed my mind as a Edwin was involved kind of way.
Yeah.
That he could have been there with another person. Like I know that they had said Edwin's not the shooter, but I was like, but he still could have been there.
Mm,
But
yeah.
that was my only little hunch on that end.
So I should probably clarify what I mean there. It never crossed my mind that the person that he said, "What are you
What are
doing
you
here?"
doing here?
was not the shooter.
Right, right.
But it
Good
all
point.
makes perfect sense. The disgust and eye rolling on his face when he said, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah,
was
especially when
for
he starts
Jeanette.
pulling out some of this history that they have. He's like,
And
I just won this government race. And you show up? Really?
and he has not had contact with her for years, and she just shows up and says, "Congratulations on your victory." And what was that like for him? I mean, what are you doing here? His words are very well said.
Right. And I mean, this is right still pretty soon after breaking up with Elizabeth. And so, like, I mean, you factor in the romantic history
Does
and like
not want to
she
see her.
steps out of this car, like, what? Why? Why are you doing this to me?
No, no, that's Nathan's line. Why?
That was
That's a great gift. Why? Anyway, that was that blew my mind that she was there. If she had been involved, I thought that she would have been involved, you
yeah.
know, wanting him
Well,
wanting him to wanting him to side with the bad guys. I thought that not involved in wanting him dead, of
No,
course, but
no. My only thing there, and I'm not saying this is not necessarily a prediction, but we don't know if she's telling the truth at this stage
ooh,
of the game. That could have been an act, that could have been part of a con on him. Is like, if he resists, we'll pretend that I'm threatening you.
that's a good
I
point.
I'm not saying, I don't really feel like that's like highly likely. Um, but we don't know. We haven't seen them talk to each other in private, like her and Casimir. So we don't have like a private behind the scenes look at that relationship. We only have what she's presenting to Lucas.
Yeah.
And since she does have a big history with being a grifter, like, you just don't know.
How
If
did you
if she thinks
feel?
that's the only way that we can get him on board with this, because they can tell that he's not on that side of the law, and that he's going to resist this, play the personal card.
Well, and he wanted to get Lucas to let him run rum through the territory.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it would be very lucrative. It's really interesting that Casimir Shaw thought that he could go that far north, because Lucas called him America's most wanted criminal. So he had to get out of the
Out of
country.
America.
Yeah, he had to get out of the country and go north. But obviously, he's wanted in Canada too, because the sign was behind Nathan on the bulletin board. And you think that you can just go straight to the governor of the territory in Canada? Really? It's just
Well, and that's why it seems
that's
like, yeah, he's using Jeanette to get what he
oh, he's
wants.
totally
There's
using
no
her,
way
but
they
it's
thought that
just
he would. There's no way they thought he would just go for that.
but that's gutsy, that he would go that high that fast. That he's
Well,
trying to run operations a little smaller so far and then work his way up to
he
that.
may have already had a lead in with Bixby, and now he's just like, I gotta get the new guy.
Yeah, that's a good point. When she comes back and he says, "Thank you for coming," like, is that the best you can do? You called me after all. That smooth as hot honey voice.
Yeah.
It just, oh, you know, if she weren't if she weren't such a vile person that we don't like, it would be a very soothing voice.
Oh yeah, she has a beautiful voice.
But for
I
her
just,
to
this whole
say,
thing is crazy.
yeah, and for her to say, "I'm all you've got left, aren't I?" I'm like, that's low. That is low. And here's my question, Sherlock. Here's my question. How Henry did a lot of digging.
Right?
How did everything look so on the level? How did
Because
everything
this
look
isn't some
legitimate?
because this isn't some average criminal like they're
Apparently.
used to dealing with. This is somebody with connections in high places, probably in the Mounties. I would think he's probably got some connections in the Mounties. He's probably, bribing people in political office or in law enforcement to get what he wants. To be able to be a rum runner, you've got to be bribing people
Oh, absolutely.
to get away with things.
You actually bring up a really good point. Rosemary says, whoever it was wanted us to think it was Montague. So Shaw must have seriously done his homework. And maybe, like you said, he had an in with Bixby. because then he would have known Montague
Yeah, I mean, maybe he actually
something.
was in cahoots with Montague before. It's possible.
Yeah, but so here's another
This does not
question.
mean Montague's a good guy. This
Yeah.
just means he was not the shooter.
He wasn't involved in the shooting, that's all.
Yeah.
But that actually brings up a good point. Who was behind the slander? Who
Yeah.
scared all the other bidders away?
I still think that had something to do with Jeanette and Shaw,
Well,
but I don't. It could be either
because
one
I mean,
or
I
both.
I am totally on board with it being Shaw because he didn't want Lucas to have a choice of bidders. He
Because he
wanted
was obviously not even entertaining Jeanette's bid.
no.
Montague was in the picture. If it was between the two of them, he was gonna go with Montague.
It still is interesting. When Lucas says to Henry, when Henry says, "Looks like you got 100-yard stare there." I
That
I
was such a great scene.
I've never heard that term, and I loved it, especially the way Henry said it. And
It was a good Henryism.
yeah, you ever ask yourself how you got here? Just about all the time, that which is a great Henry answer. But when Lucas gets nostalgic for one moment and says, "I'm thinking about New Orleans when I met Jeanette. She wasn't just beautiful, she existed on a plane above everyone else." And then, "Are you sure her investors are on the level?" Good, because she's on her way. You can just see Henry go, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So it just,
I really hope he doesn't take that out on Henry for missing that. I mean,
he
I don't see
can't.
that happening,
He
but
can't.
no,
No.
I don't see that happening. But like last week's Lucas would have
So
the
let's,
if anything had come to his light without him remembering it himself, I don't think he would have believed it or accepted that this was the only move he had left. It's
those,
like Allie, just like Allie. Like
yeah. Yeah. No, you've got a great point. I
had to
mean,
experience that himself.
the plans for the resort went out the window. Montague's bid went out the window. Jeanette's bid goes out the window. But
Yeah.
when he starts having those memories, those were fantastic flashbacks, very well edited. And
Mm-hmm.
Chris's performance of the
Oh,
panic attack and the heavy breathing and calming himself down, he just,
oh, good.
he just keeps getting better. The longer he plays this
Really, really
character, the
is.
more seamless it is for me.
Well, and I think there's just a confidence to him. I mean, he's acted in a lot of things, but he like this is a really long-term character, so he's able to delve more deeply into it, and it's
Yeah.
not just surface level. I don't,
It's not a two
when
hour
you're just
movie.
yeah, when you're just doing a tour movie, you can't dig deep. There isn't time to dig deep. You can dig deep maybe in one area of the persona, but
Yeah.
not in multiple layers. And so I really feel like he's kind of coming into his own being able to do that so much with this character.
Yeah.
And having been able, we talked about this this last week when we were just chatting with each other about like Lucas's character is so much stronger for having been in the like been the triangle recipient winner. I
Victor,
don't know what you want to
the
say.
Victor.
But I mean, we have gotten, it had it been decided with Nathan at the beginning, even if it was after the 3 years, like we wouldn't have seen this side of Lucas. We've been able to see this soft side of Lucas with him in a serious relationship, in a serious committed relationship with Elizabeth, and him spending time with little Jack and all of those things, and him like letting work take a back seat for a while and letting him have a personal life. And we've been able to see that side of him really deeply. And now we get to see the professional side of him dig deeper and see him with his his visions and his grand life goals and his big aspirations for how far he can go in life. And so I think that being able to have seen those different aspects really does make his character so much richer.
You know, that's a really, really good point, because the other thing that we are seeing is a lot of situations that are making him angry. And we've never seen Lucas this angry. You know, I would think the closest is when Amos Dixon took
Oh,
took them
definitely.
hostage, but he couldn't act on it, you know, because Elizabeth was at gunpoint. And we've seen him passionate about things, like when he started the speech to out Bigsby.
Mm-hmm.
But
And we also saw him really kind of struggle internally with like his path,
yes, but
especially like when the fire at the saloon.
right,
But yeah,
but
it's like
never angry,
never
especially at
angry.
his friends. We've
And
never seen him yell at one of his
no,
friends.
at anyone other than like an actual adversary.
Yeah.
But had we not seen the softer side of him the last 2 years, would we appreciate seeing him this way now? Would we
No, that's
just go,
exactly what I'm saying.
would we just say, see, he's not a good guy. See, he's got
Yeah.
a violent streak or an angry streak, he's got rage in him and he's not, good enough for anybody.
That thought didn't even cross my mind.
No, but had we not had the last 2 years, it
No,
might
that's
have.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
so knowing him, knowing the goodness in him and the softer side and all the personal struggles he's been through in his life,
mhm. Yeah.
he's more
And
human too. You can see how he
he's
would
more
struggle with,
human. He's
you
more developed.
see
He's more
the
complex.
weight of the world or the valley, in this case, on his shoulders.
Yeah.
All these people without jobs, he has made promises. He has to see it through. He has to keep going,
Enormous amount of pressure.
even if he has to do things that he knows isn't right. He's trying to do the greater good. He's trying to find. He's oh,
He's trying so hard.
so
But
much.
and and then he calls Lee small-minded, you know, and says, "This is about our home, our territory, our children's future."
And he
And
said that on purpose because of Goldie. He
oh,
said
of course,
a pointed line.
he doesn't have any children, and it doesn't look like he's going to in the near future. So, yeah, that was not for him. That was definitely for Lee. And it just, it was really amazing that Lee held his cool. And it was also amazing that Lee could go against Lucas like this, because Lee has been very trusting and Lee has been very flexible in, okay, let's go forward. Okay, let's go forward. And then, you know, when he and Maisie have that meeting, uh, okay, when Maisie says, "I told you the resort would have a surge in crime," the resort hasn't even begun construction.
Yeah,
How can you
you
put
can't blame it.
no? That was the most ridiculous thing ever. But when they're having the meeting and Lee says, "I agree," and she says, "You do?" You know, you can see how hard it is for Lee to say that. He does not want to go against Lucas. He wants this prosperity.
Yes, I was just gonna say the exact same word. I was gonna say he
Yeah,
wants the prosperity for the town and for the people that he knows so desperately need it.
but he's not going to take it at any cost. And of course, once Lucas, and see, here's the thing, Lucas does not remember anything.
At that
And
point, yeah.
at that point, so he is going forward thinking that this is what's going to save the territory. This is what's going to make it flourish and blossom. But the moment that he remembers Jeanette in the picture and he figures out your bid has Casimir Shaw behind it, nothing. And that proves that Lucas is still a good person. He has not become a corrupt politician. He's trying to do his best of what he thinks is best
Yeah.
for this whole territory that he is governor of. But the moment he hears who is involved, cuts all ties, it's off, and he drives with her to the edge of town and says, "This is where we say goodbye."
Yeah. And he's still trying to protect her. And that's the only reason I'm a little suspicious. Is
Oh,
I'm like, he's giving her the benefit of the doubt. He's trying to get her out of town. He's trying to not have her take the fall for any of this.
yeah.
And that just scares me in a way because it does open the door for her to run back to Shaw, tell him what's going on, give him the heads up.
No,
If she is misleading Lucas still.
you are absolutely right. So I was thinking about my opinion on the subject, but the only reason why I have this opinion is because I watched the preview. So, because Lucas is there's one shot where Lucas is hugging Jeanette and she looks very scared. And that's the only reason why I'm thinking that she might be totally involved. But the other,
Okay, but that's remember what I told you is that one picture that I think is from that same scene. I feel like she could be hurt.
oh, that's the scene you were talking about.
I think that is the same scene because
Okay.
why else would he be hugging her? Like
Well, if she's
I feel
horribly
like maybe
frightened,
she literally has been shot or stabbed or something, and
yeah.
he's trying to like
Okay, well, see, then that brings
I
on
don't
a whole new, yeah, that brings on a whole new perspective. I will say this. I will say this for Lucas because she did say, "What if I refuse?" He immediately said, "Then I'll have you arrested for being an accessory in my shooting." And I just went, "Yes, that a boy." He's still protecting her, yes, but if she doesn't get out of
not, but
town,
also not at any cost
yeah.
to
But if
bring it
she does
back to
not get,
like
yeah,
yeah.
if she sticks around for even one more moment, he's going to have her arrested and she'll go away. Because when the governor arrests you, it's you don't get out until he says so.
Or until Casimir sends his buddies into the jail to take you out.
Okay, so because we're at the preview for the
Yeah.
next episode, I have to say one thing. So it very much looks like Elizabeth is going to get held at gunpoint in
In
the
the
saloon,
saloon again.
which is very reminiscent of another
Well, I mean,
experience.
at least Nathan knows how to deal with that exact situation.
Very true.
Done it
But
before.
so, two things about that. Number one, that's something else I got right. I
Yeah.
got I got Casimir Shaw holding a gun on Elizabeth. Yes. But the other thing is, I personally believe because Nathan and Elizabeth are on a very steady road right now, and
Mhm.
they don't seem to be wanting to move forward too much. They're taking things very slowly.
Like
However,
molasses in January is Bill's line.
right, molasses in January. But if something big were to happen that makes them realize the precious gift of life that they have and the fact that they have someone in their life, which is,
Yeah.
it was a completely different it was a
Yeah.
completely different dramatic situation, but it was still a dramatic situation that brought them together in my story. So that's
Yes.
what I've been waiting for, is a dramatic situation that makes them, like the flood in the end of
Yes.
season 3, that kind of made Jack and Elizabeth realize. Now, he didn't propose the second he was out of bed, which, darn it, it was such a shame. But this, I feel, is going to push them forward.
Yeah.
This is going to make them realize also, the situation in the mine at the end of season 2, because that
Yes.
moved them
Yep.
forward a big step when he saved
So,
her life. So I think that this is going to move Nathan and Elizabeth forward, hopefully a very big step.
okay. So, question. Have
Yeah.
you, I know you're not like reading lots of preview stuff, but have you
No,
seen photos of the hay wagon?
I have seen that photo.
Okay.
I
Do you think they're hiding in it or do you think they jumped?
you I had that, not that exact question, but my question was, what are they doing in a hay wagon? You know,
They had to have either climbed up to hide from people walking by or they had to have jumped off the balcony of the saloon to get out of there. It's got to be one of those two things.
interesting theory. It's
There's
a
no, I do not, can you come up with any other reason they would be that Nathan and Elizabeth would be laying in at the back of a hay wagon?
I can.
Okay, I want to hear this.
It's not dramatic, but it's
Oh,
very
maybe they're playing hide and seek with Jeff.
nah. It's not dramatic, but it is romantic, because I don't think that they would be playing hide and seek at night with Jack, and it's obviously dark.
I was being kind of jokey, but I
Okay,
like hilariously, I can't think of anything else. Like, why else would they be up there?
stargazing.
I mean, yes, but it just seems weird that you would climb into a wagon. Like,
So if you're going to lie down to get a better view of the stars, and
yeah,
there are no chairs around, it's a whole lot better to lay in a hay wagon
I won't argue that point, but I
than
will
it is
say
to lie on the ground.
they're not laying on their backs. They're like
On their
flopped.
backs.
They're kind of flopped. I feel like they're like,
Well, because
you know,
that's when they're turning
hiding.
toward each other. That's when they're turning toward each other to talk for a second. And I mean, that if that scene is not their first kiss, then I'm wondering what they're going to come up with, honestly.
There was a preview that just seemed like they were standing in front of the row houses at night. At
Okay.
at some point, I don't know if that's a kiss or not, but they were alone in front of the row houses at night and staring at each other. So
I mean, they've been doing that a lot lately.
yeah.
But that'll be another theory that goes out the window. So let's
Well,
talk about
eventually one of these theories is gonna stay inside. I don't know.
a couple who has kissed.
Yes.
Yeah. um, because, okay, if you still are hanging on to this theory, please forgive me. This is not a personal insult, but with Nathan and Elizabeth having not kissed, and we're coming up on episode 11 of 12.
Yeah, I
A
find it
wedding,
highly unlikely that the
a
wedding.
wedding between the two of them does not seem likely to me.
I could maybe see a proposal, but
Maybe. And
maybe.
a wedding, a wedding, as we know, puts thoughts like that into people's head. SSD, it makes people contemplative. So
That it does.
that's for you, postables. So he could very well propose at the wedding, but
Or she could.
I'm going to ignore that. But I think that we can safely say, I mean, you and I have always agreed on this, but I think that we can safely and collectively say that if there is going to be a wedding in this season, it's going to be Mike and May. It's going to
It
be
would be
men.
so surprising for it to not be.
That
I
would
will
be,
say that. It would, I'd be like, wait, it's what? They're not?
that's my
They've just
hardy
hyped
card.
that couple so many times, so much that it's like, how is it not them? Like that would be crazy.
That's my hardy card going out the window. You know,
Right?
I'm just, I give up on predictions. I'm done.
Right. Right.
Like all of the Hardys are going to take away my membership card anyway after that.
Um, my
But
gosh, they are so sweet
they are
together.
so sweet. And can I just say, May Sue, you are a VIP. Not only are you sprung on having dinner tomorrow with the really overbearing oldest sister and the mother, which anyone who has ever been in a serious relationship knows meeting the mother is huge. And
And cook, to have to cook for them, one, to have to cook ethnic dishes that they may have never tried before.
and you have no idea what their palate is like.
Just because Mike loves it and Mike learned how to use chopsticks. I do want to point out Maisie was using chopsticks at that table as well, which I thought was wonderful.
Yes, it was
What
very
a
sweet.
nice gesture.
So let's talk about Mother.
Shall
We,
we?
we all know her. We all know her. She's been a staple on
Oh
Hallmark
my
for
goodness.
years.
So the character name I want to point out because I don't think they said it on the show,
They did not.
but on IMDb it says that her character name is Mavis Hickam. So even mom has an M name. Pretty interesting right there.
Adorable. Adorable. I'm betting
Um,
that the other four sisters do too. I'm
oh,
betting.
I'm pretty sure that he told us all their names when he was pointing at a picture, when he was showing Bill the picture.
Yes,
When he was
yes, it was.
decorating the
Yes,
mayor's office.
yeah, it was a
They were
while
all M.
ago. It was a while ago, but on Instagram they posted the picture of the whole family M and M and M and M and M. It was adorable. It was precious.
Yes. But the actress's name is Dolores Drake, and she
Yep.
has been in a gazillion Hallmark projects. Um, so many I can't even begin to
Pumpkin
list.
Pie Wars is one that sticks out to me. That's one where I really loved her.
That is true. She was also in It's Christmas Eve. She was
Yes.
in, um, let's see, Love Struck Cafe with Andrew.
Yes.
So many, so many, so many.
And
One
she
of the
was
God Wink
perfect.
Christmas movie, the first God Wink Christmas movie with Paul.
Oh
So
my.
like just
And
so many.
and she was perfect. She
And
was,
Santa Stakeout, one of
oh, Santa Stakeout,
my
yes.
mystery Christmas movies.
But you can take that off now. We're on Mike and May. So
Make me have hat hair for the rest of the
oh, you look gorgeous as always. But she was perfect. She was perfect.
That was the best casting. She just bears such a striking resemblance to both Ben Rosenbaum and Samantha Ferris, who plays Maisie. It's it I you could just they pass as relatives
Yeah.
so well. And then the fact that both Samantha Ferris and Dolores Drake are staples across Hallmark and are pop up in movies here and there and everywhere. And so I think it really, for me, what I liked about that is it really kind of elevated the character of Hickam even more. Like we've talked about this, he started as this like side character that was not really well known, but because he was a fan favorite, they have given him a larger role year after year after year until he is one of the main townspeople and who
Mm-hmm.
now has this romance and now is potentially likely going to be the big giant wedding of the season. And so I think to give his family these credible faces from Hallmark makes it that much more like just gives him more clout, makes it more important.
Yeah. So we've called May the VIP because boy was she. So first we have Mom and Maisie, and then we have all of the sisters tonight.
I love how he told her.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
I love how she accepted it. She was not happy, but like they have a very mature relationship.
Yeah, they do.
Like it's so sweet that they aren't bickering about that. They aren't like complaining about that. She's stressed about it, but that's not his fault. And they're gonna get through it. And they're gonna talk it out and work it out. And she's gonna maybe leave out the chili paste. He's like, no, but that's the most part. But they're like, it's all positive.
But she still has her moments of, I've never met your mother, and now I have to cook for her. And then her, oh, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't blame her on that one. That is stress 101. But but here's my question for you. The kiss right in front of mother. I mean, it was adorable, but I kind of went, oh, should you be doing that in front of mother? Should you be doing that in front of Maisie?
Well, and Maisie's the only one that seemed to notice. I didn't see a look from mom or a look from
No,
the other
I
sisters. Like it would have been hilarious if like all of them stopped and stared or something.
I think that would have turned a
Our little
sweet,
Mikey.
I oh gosh, I think that would have turned a very sweet moment into a huge comedic moment, which they probably weren't going
No, but they
for.
could have all like looked and looked away,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of like Maisie did. Like they definitely could have done that some more. Um, but no, I thought it was so sweet. The only thing was I couldn't tell if the comment from mom was genuine
Which comments are you talking about?
when she took a bite.
Oh,
It
oh,
almost seemed like a fake. It's very good.
no, I
Like,
I didn't I didn't see it that way. I saw her as pleasantly surprised because she knew that she was trying an ethnic dish, and I saw it as, that's good.
I was just like, I was not quite sure. I was like, oh, I hope she really likes it.
No, she does. She absolutely
Okay,
does.
I'll take your word for it. You have the inside track.
Absolutely.
And I want to say, how cool is it that the saloon was closed for a private event for that?
Well, for a family that large, you do need a private event.
Well, that's fair. But also, like, Mike has worked there a really long time.
Yeah.
He's really stepped up. He's done a lot of these good things, but like, they don't close the saloon for private events all the time. So I thought that was just a sweet like nod to how important he is, and that something that really like They could have just had a big table in the saloon
Yeah.
while it was open, and they would have been fine with May bringing in some food and serving it. Like nobody would have cared.
No.
But they let him have that, and like just that acknowledgement of how important he is and how important he is to the town and to the saloon and as a business. It was sweet.
Well, I think that given the fact that he's the manager, he had a lot
He
of
could,
power. And who was going to argue with she's cooking for my mother? Not
yeah,
Lee.
no,
Lee would no, Lee
gonna
would
have
not
to
argue with
that.
that. And Rosie is going to promote romance however she can. So she wouldn't have been against it either. So
No, she did not know that was happening though, or she would have been there.
oh my gosh, yes.
She would have been like in the back, like trying to get things ready and like help. Oh, I'll help serve this. And like, that doesn't Mike look nice tonight? Oh, they're such a cute couple, aren't they? Don't you that? She would have been like trying to hype them to
Oh,
the
it would have
sister.
been terrible.
Would have been awful. You know, she did not know this was happening.
Well, and thank heavens that Rosie isn't here right now because she would want to keep talking about all of this. But we do need to leave you. We need to let you get back to life, unfortunately. And now you can go make that banana bread. And while you make it, you can listen to the story. Parties, whatever you're doing, have a beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in your day. Remember how much you are cared for, how important you are, and that there are people who love you. We'll see you later.
Bye, Hearties.